Welcome to the Hair Metal Rules Podcast, where we celebrate all things 80s hair and glam rock. Join us as we dive into the world of spandex, big hair, and killer guitar solos with your host, Big J. From iconic bands like Motley Crue and Def Leppard to the lesser-known gems of the era like Lillian Axe and Babylon AD, we cover them all. So grab your hairspray and leather pants because it's time to rock out with the Hair Metal Rules Podcast. Hi everyone, and welcome back to the Hair Metal Rules Podcast. I have another special guest on the show today. I first heard of the band Heaven's Edge back in the late 80s while listening to 88.1 WKNC. This was the college radio station at North Carolina State University. The song that played was Skin to Skin. Of course, I had to go out and buy the cassette tape. To my surprise, the album was amazing. The guitarist in the band is incredible, and I became an instant fan. I had the pleasure of finally meeting this gentleman years later at M3. Friends, it thrills me to welcome to the show the guitarist for Heaven's Edge, Mr. Reggie Wu. Hey Reggie, welcome to the Hair Metal Rules Podcast. I actually met you at M3 a couple of years ago.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Great to meet you again.
I appreciate it. Yeah, well, it's the first time like I said, I've been a Heaven's Edge band since you guys first came out. I saw I tell this a lot on my podcast. People probably get tired of hearing it, but I always thumb through Rip magazines and Metal Edge magazines, and there'd always be like ads in there. And I saw an ad for Heaven's Edge on Columbia Records when you guys were coming out. So I always migrated towards the lesser known bands that were coming out at the time.
Oh, well, thank you.
I always thought, and the first Heaven's Edge album I think is killer in my opinion. And what I liked best was your intro. You cleverly put the names of your songs in the intro, and I that kind of got me hooked right there.
Oh, that's awesome. I think at first I was like, why do we have an intro?
But it was neat. It was neat
Yeah.
how it was done. How you incorporate, don't stop, don't go. You know,
Right. You got it. I guess that was a Neil Kernan. We used Neil, from Hall & Oates and Queensrÿche Dokken to produce it. And the guy's just a musical genius. And he's got. I think I have a good ear. This guy's ear blows my ear out of the water. In fact, the whole session he'd be like, "Sorry, flat." He's from England. "Sorry, sharp." So during Can't Catch Me, when we there's a part in Can't Catch Me where we like smash all. We wanted to be the first band to smash all our equipment on record. You hear him go, "Sorry, sharp," or "Sorry, flat."
Right. Oh wow, so, I didn't know that. That's
because that's all. Like I'd be like, "That note was right on," and he'd be like, "I think the last note in the solo of Hold On, sorry, flat, sorry, sharp. I think I down my strings to a lighter gauge because my fingers were killing me from bending. And then I finally nailed it, and he'd be like, "Could you add some more vibrato to that?" I'm like, "Oh my god."
Well, that is a great CD, and I like your new CD too because you still have a lot of bands that come out with a CD years and years later for some reason, and I get it. You want to kind of go with the times, but they completely change the sound they had, and that's what people want to hear. But the new Heaven's Edge record sounds like it could have been produced in 1988.
Oh, that's awesome. I think we are who we are,
Yeah.
I definitely have gravitated towards like heavier bands, like not super heavy, sort of like Alter Bridge, bands that have still a lot of melody but the heavy guitars. But me and Mark are who we are, we're not going to change, so.
Well, Adam Holland told me to tell you hello.
Yes, he texted me yesterday. Love Adam. We might be actually doing one of his songs. We're working on it. We're starting. I guess writing for the next record. We're about 15 songs in. We just want to write as many songs as we can, and hopefully have something to choose from. An Adam song, Mark really liked one. He sent a couple over. Mark really liked one of them. I liked all of them. Adam's just so talented, you know.
Yeah, he when I interviewed him, I think I interviewed him Monday, day before yesterday, and he said, I'm going to interview Reggie on Thursday, and he's like, well, I'm going to text him and tell him you are the worst podcaster I have ever seen. I said, well, okay, that's what he's like. No, he's like, me and Reggie are great friends.
Yes, love Adam, and he did not say that at all.
Because the funny thing with Adam, when I interviewed him a couple of weeks ago, and somehow when the Zoom file went to the cloud to be sent back to me, it was corrupted, so the whole interview was gone.
Oh no!
And I'm like, asking somebody to come back on and do a podcast again is like, taking a shower, drying off, and get back in and taking a shower again. It kind of defeats the purpose. You know what I mean?
Right. So you had to redo it again.
Yes, he was nice enough to come back on, and I had a different set of questions for him, so we made it, a little bit different. But he's a nice fella, and
so nice, so talented. We have very similar stories because we both were with Columbia and Neil Kernan and love the Valentine Boys. Are they doing another record?
He said he didn't say they were doing one. He was doing some solo stuff on his own.
Okay.
But he didn't come right out and say they were doing, another record. So
I mean, what a band! Wow, they were great.
Yeah, they were. Their album is another one with the Heaven's Edge type stuff. I saw it in a magazine and I bought it, and the first song on that had me hooked. Just like your intro had me hooked. And let me tell you a funny story. Then I ask you some questions. My daughter is 25. She started listening to hair metal when she was about 3.
Okay.
Because that's all I listened to in the car.
Right.
So to make a long story short, look what happened to Daddy's Little Girl.
Yes.
All right. She started dancing when she was 2, all the way up until she was in high school. All right. So she's like, I'm going to do something different, Dad, than everybody else. I said, what are you going to do? She's like, I'm going to have a hair metal song in my final dance.
That's
so she found someone online that took 3 or 4. It was Too Young to Fall in Love, and there was another song, but Daddy's Little Girl, he incorporated together where it would flow from one to the other, and her final dance recital had Daddy's Little Girl at the very end of it.
That is awesome. Do you have footage of it? I'd love to see it.
I have. I think I have it on my phone. I can. I'll email it to you. Let you see. It's raw. It's raw because I had to zoom in. But
right.
The music
That's
is
awesome. Wow.
Well, what? I'm just going to ask you a silly question. Okay.
Yes.
What's the most hilarious fashion trend or movie you secretly love?
I don't know. I didn't do a lot of movies. I mean, obviously, one of my favorite all-time movies is Fast Time at Ridgemont High. Just love that movie. I don't think that I never kept it a secret because I felt like everybody loved it. I loved Spring Break. I don't know, it's like one of those cheesy, porky type movies,
Well, that was the 80s. The 80s movies were great.
Yeah, Revenge of the Nerds. There we go. I could totally relate with Revenge of the Nerds because I was and still am the biggest nerd, and I could just totally, I can totally relate with that movie. And it's so funny. My parents, very, very sadly, they passed in the last couple of years, but I had a falling out with them growing up, and I had the most caring mother in the world, and I'm doing my first bar gig. Like, I'm 16. It's the night before the SATs, and I break a string, and my mom runs on stage and is trying to fix it. My wah-wah pedal falls over. She comes up, and I'm like, Mom, get the F out of here. Like, I'm trying to be cool, So she went back to my dad and said, he just said this to me. What does that mean? My mom, Oriental, didn't even understand. My dad told her, and they swore they would never come see me play again. And they held true to that forever, like all the way till like 16, till we were signed with Columbia Records. They didn't even come to the record release party. But I finally convinced them to come to the Skin to Skin shooting for the video. We had some live footage in there, and so they came to that. And when my dad, when you put tissues in your ear and you rip off and you put the tissues in your ear. He didn't rip it off, so he had two tissues like hanging down here, and there were these girls like all these girls were just doing anything they could to be in the video. So there's this girl like hanging from the balcony with skin to skin like on her ass, and a singer like stops the show and he says that line from Revenge of the Nerds, "We got Bush."
Oh my goodness.
And I turn and see my dad staring at this girl with the biggest smile on his face. I'm like, "Oh, right, Dad."
There you go. You got him now.
Yeah. So they finally came out to the show, and that's what they got to see.
That's great. That's great. I'm sorry it took, you had a lapse in time when they wanted to be there. But, parents are parents. You have to. I mean, I'm 53, and my parents still, I don't like this or I don't like that. But that's okay. You're still their child, but they don't want to admit. You know what I mean? But that's just life.
Absolutely, and cherish everything they tell you not to do. Just go with it, because I would die for my parents to tell me I'm doing something wrong right now.
I didn't think my parents had any sense at all till I got married and left home.
Right.
And now my parenting, well, my child's grown now, but my parenting when she was growing up, I'm like, that sounds just like something my dad would say.
Yeah, absolutely. They're out looking for you. They're not trying to do you wrong just to do you wrong, So.
Oh yeah. So, they have the best of intentions. That's all that matters.
Absolutely.
What made you want to become a guitarist? Who were your musical influences?
Well, I started. My mom's a classical pianist, so I started on classical piano like 3 or 4 years old. I think like my first rock song I liked was like Indian Reservation by Paul Revere and the Raiders. I don't know if you remember that song.
Yeah.
Cherokee people. I was like, wow, this is heavy. Funk, 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 ga-dung, ga-dung. So that really, but then without a doubt, Richie Blackmore and Deep Purple. Just obsessed all through high school. Like I went to over here in Cherry Hill East, and it was all about Genesis and Yes and Elton John, who are all tremendous. But I was like the heavy metal. It's not even heavy metal, but the hard rock guy with Deep Purple. Just loved everything from like, even the first record with Hush and stuff. Every generation of Deep Purple I loved, and all the way up to the Come Taste the Band. I kind of, but definitely Richie Blackmore all the way. And then also I just was telling the story was Jimmy Page. I saw the Song Remains the Same. Came home that night and dropped the guitar as low as I possibly could because I wanted to look like Jimmy Page. And so those two were like huge on me. And then my path from there went Randy Rhoads, I guess, what everybody went through, Yngwie Malmsteen. Right now, I love Nuno Bettencourt, and who doesn't love the guy, Mark Tremonti, and there's just so many great guitar players. And with YouTube these days, I like these kids, like, I don't even know his name, Matteo Minusco, like, holy smokes. And I teach guitar, and the kids come in, they're like, they want to do all that tapping on the acoustic, like the drums and tuning and singing, and they're like, can I learn the song from Andy McKay? I'm like, not for me. Like, that's not even the same instrument I play. But there's just so much innovation out there, and it's amazing. I wonder if it was always there and we just never saw it because we didn't have YouTube. But now, because of YouTube, we get to see it all,
Exactly. That's exactly. I was talking to someone a couple of weeks ago, and it's amazing the technology we live in now. Back when I was in high school, you just saw pictures of bands in magazines. That's how you knew who they looked like. Or you saw the Headbangers Ball.
Right.
I remember buying a lot of cassette tapes from a lot of these bands from the back of those magazines. Send us $5, we'll send you our demo cassette.
Right.
They joined the Heaven's Edge fan club. Send a self-addressed stamp envelope, and you get a guitar pick and a sticker. But that's how you kids don't realize what they have in their hands as far as what they can see, because it amazes me just being on Instagram. There'll be a feed on there. I saw a young lady the other day, and she was about 17. I can't remember her name, but I was watching her play guitar, and I'm thinking to myself, good night.
Yeah, it's spectacular. It's spectacular what's out there. And I love it. I love it. It's just it's so funny. We cut our first record when I was like 28 years old. So I guess I've been playing guitar by about 20 years at that point. Did the solo to Find Another Way, one of our songs, and so I've been playing guitar about 20 years. My friend Caitlin just sent me a video of her friend working at a gas station in Wawa here in Jersey. Wawas are big. In the booth, just shredding the Find Another Way solo 40 times better than me, and the kid's been playing guitar for 4 years.
Wow.
I'm just like, holy moly, yeah.
I work with we have some friends that have a restaurant, and I go just help out every now and then if they need help. And there's a kid in their kitchen. His name's Trenton, and he's 19. And he showed me a video of him playing guitar. I mean, I would have never thought it, but this kid, I'm like, how did you learn how to do that? It's like, well, my dad had a guitar laying there, and I just picked it up and learned how to play it. I'm like,
what the heck? What the heck?
I can't even. I want to learn to play guitar too. I have acoustic guitar, and if my fingers don't feel right on the neck, I'm like, I don't want to do this.
Yeah,
I'll just air guitar from here on out and look like I know what I'm doing. You know what I
mean? Yeah, these kids, but you know what? It's awesome. It's going to keep it going. Got to keep the world rocking, right?
Well, how did Heaven's Edge come to be?
I was doing everything I possibly could to try to get a record deal. This is way before Heaven's Edge. I mean, the goal was to get a record. I moved to California, joined a band called Mansfield with Pete Preston. Rest in peace, Pete. Just love Pete. Replaced Doug Aldrich, who's just now one of the best guitar players in the world, and failed miserably out there. Came home, joined a local band. They were called Buff the Musket. I was always embarrassed about that name, but very, very talented band, and just staying in the scene just to do whatever I could. Then I joined a band called White Fox that had some local success, and through that we started playing with another band, which was the biggest cover band in the area that also did originals, amazing band called Network, and Mark was the bass player for that band. I think White Fox had opened up for them at a local club here, and I met Mark, and I used to go see Network every chance I could because I thought they were the best band around, and Mark was just mesmerizing on stage, the way he moved, and there was a time when he was going to play bass for Bon Jovi, and there's like pictures of him jamming, and but I was just like, he would never leave the Network. They were like the biggest band in the area. He would never leave Network, to join up with me. So I gave his girlfriend, now wife Jeannie, a cassette tape of a song I wrote. You Got Yours, it was called. And Mark loved it and put lyrics to it. You Got Yours, and we said, hey, let's write. And I think the first 17 songs in there was Skin to Skin and Find Another Way. We just had that instant connection. Mark left his band, I left White Fox, and right out of the box, because we were two pretty big names in the area, it was like instant local success. Like, we were selling out wherever we played just because of our names, and the ride up was spectacular. Like, it was just like, everywhere we played was packed, and things are doing great. We're demoing, things are doing great. Get signed to Columbia, and the ride down was about as painful as you can ever imagine. But it was all part of it was not meant to be, and I'm fine with that. But it was so like I was saying, me and Mark really just clicked right out of the box. So,
but it's funny, you're not the only one has talked about you get a record release and then it's over with. I talked to a fella that lives in North Carolina. His name's Roy Cathy. He played with Cold Sweat with.
Oh yeah, okay.
I talked to him a lot because, like I said, he lives maybe 40 minutes from me. But anyway, he said that when their manager came up to him and said, I got good news and I got bad news. The good news is we're going to shoot your video and it's going to be on MTV. The bad news is the record label just dropped you. Just as soon as the record came out, like a week later. But a lot of these, yourself, 89, 90, 91, there was still hair metal.
Right.
It was coming out. It was great, but that was kind of the end of the wave.
Yeah, exactly. exactly.
But there's so many great bands out there at the end of the 80s, early 90s that wow, if it would have come out 8 years earlier,
yep,
they would have been huge. But you know, you finally get your chance and you get a record deal, and you're like, okay, we're on our way. But you know, I guess in the back of your mind, you know what's coming. You know, the music scene is changing.
Absolutely. Well, I remember being in Columbia and them giving us the demos to Alice in Chains. I'm like, this is terrible. I'm like, what is this? Yeah. And you know, this is the new band that Donnie Ienner signed, and I didn't like it. And now they're one of my favorite bands. And to add more insult, I use Jerry Cantrell's amp. That's my amp that I use now. I'm using the guy who ended my career's amp, you know. But they are, and they're still relevant to this day. Sure. So it shows that Columbia Records made the right choice. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's what Adam was saying yesterday. You know, grunge. I didn't like grunge. I liked some. Don't get me wrong. I liked some. But now you listen to music. No matter what it is, you listen to music 40 years later, and you're like, man, I really like that song.
Oh, it was just
I didn't like it back then.
No, it was just too down. But like now, like I listen to a song like Down in a Hole, and it like just affects me. I'm just like, wow, this is friggin' just incredible, you know? I was watching the Robert DeLeo interview this morning with Rick Beato, and I didn't realize that he's one of the main songwriters of STP, the bass player, and just how, you know, they were lumped into the grunge scene because of Plush, but, you know, they're from San Diego, and, you know, and they just like to write good music, you know, and he's very jazz influenced from Bill Evans, you know, and that's why they have all those lush chords, and it's just very interesting to see everybody's journey, you know, but it didn't work out for us, and I'm fine with it. You know, at the time we were devastated. You know, all the clubs that we were packing are now half full. Go back again, they're a quarter full. You know, it's a big blow to the ego, you know, but it was meant to be, and we were forced to find other ways to live. I mean, we got dropped from the record company, and me and my wife had a daughter, you know, who I guess at that time would be about 5 years old, and you know, I had no money. I was endorsed by Ibanez. I'm selling my guitars for groceries, you know, and somebody said, oh, maybe you should try teaching. You know, my mom always had me teaching as a kid because she was a classical piano teacher, so I knew how to teach. And I ran an ad in a local thing called Trading Times, where it was all cars, but in the back was all about musicians, bass player looking for a band or whatever. And I was just like Reggie from Heaven's Edge, giving guitar lessons, got my first 17 students from that ad, and never looked back. Here I am 31 years later, still teaching. So
well, that's great. That's good. I mean, you're still doing what you love. That's what it's all about. You know, you come out with a new album with Heaven's Edge. And I talked to Jaron, your bass player.
Yes.
I talked to him the other day, and he said you guys had more songs you were working on to hopefully put another record out soon.
Yep. Me and Mark are hard at work and just having fun with it. The disadvantage that we're going through is, you know, when we did the first record, we probably had 100 songs to choose from just because we were a full band, and you know, we'd been gigging for 3 or 4 years. So we had a lot of songs to choose from. The second record is just all like B-sides and throwaways that a label in Europe approached us about. And then this third record here, me and Mark would casually just, you know, he's like one of my best friends, if not my best friend. We just would write songs just for fun because, you know, there was no pressure. So we had a good amount of songs, like 50, 60 songs to choose from for the record that came out last year. This record here, we had 0. And I mean, everyone was like, can you go back and use some of the ones? But in my mind, I'm like, there was a reason why it was rejected. You know, and
the reason why you didn't use them to begin with, exactly.
So me and Mark have just been writing a lot, and I think we've really hit a groove. I'm like, every night I'm in my room down here, and the ideas are just pouring out. I'm sending them to Mark, and his ideas are pouring out, and I've probably written, you know, 20 something songs, and Mark's got like lyrics to a lot of them, and you know, it's funny, you know, we all work like maniacs. Like I probably work like 60 hours a week, you know, and just because I have a kid in college, you know, I have 3 kids, you got to survive, you know, and
definitely.
And my drummer's like, yeah, we need about 50 songs, you know, let's get up to 50 and we'll pick the best 10. I'm like, 50? I'm not even halfway there yet.
Wow.
So we got Adam coming to the rescue, and it's been so much fun just to write, and I just want to put out a good record. I'd rather not put out anything,
yes,
rather than put out something lousy. So we'll see where we land. You know, the deal with Frontiers is a 3-record deal, so we do got to kind of push to hold up our end of the bar. But I want to put something good out because, man, putting out a record nowadays is a lot different than back then. You get instant criticism,
and you see it everywhere.
Oh, it's just like 99.9% of the reviews were fantastic and positive, but you always remember the one. Like I remember there was one, we released our first song, and the guy's like, I was a huge Heaven's fan. Had Enough was our first single that we released, and he's like, I was a huge Heaven's Hedge fan back in the day, but after 30 seconds of listening to this new song, I've had enough. I'm like, ouch!
So you listen to 30 seconds of a song in a band you've liked for 30 years, you're just like, I don't like you anymore. It's funny you say that. My Instagram page, I post bands on there, but I just do a little clip of a video. Some bands people probably never really heard that much of, but I post stuff that I like. But I posted something one day, and evidently somebody that had followed me, and it kind of hurt my feelings, but I had to just blow it off because he left me this long. You're spending this much time to send me a comment. You're the kind of guy we used to beat up in high school because of the music you like.
That's what he said.
I just, and it went on and on and on. You call yourself a metal fan, but you don't post anything but bubblegum rock, blah, 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 blah. That, which is not true. I like King Diamond. I like Fate's Warning. I like Testament. I like a lot of harder bands too. And I try to mix them in with it. But anyway, I just put it back and say, sir, the good thing about opinions is everybody has one.
Yes.
Your opinion of me really doesn't. I'm going to grow from your opinion of me, but it's not going to hurt my feelings.
Right.
If you don't like what I post, please do not follow me.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, come on.
It's so easy to be mean on the internet these days, and
well, it's funny. People are really, really brave, sir, when they're hiding behind words.
Yes.
But when you're face to face with somebody, all those brave words that you can put in an Instagram post, they're not going to come out of your mouth.
Yeah, no. I mean, lighten up and try to have some fun.
Thank you. That's exactly right. Me and Adam, and I didn't realize when we were talking the other day. When you hear hair metal, that's what I call this music. A lot of people don't like it being called that. That's fine. People call it glam rock, bubblegum rock. But anyway, if you had big hair and you wore spandex, yada yada yada, that's what I cut it. But anyway, you automatically think everybody was from the Sunset Strip. But
right.
Adam made me realize, and not just him, but Tommy Ricard, the drummer from Vane, they were not anywhere near the Sunset Strip. They came in and played it for a while, but it wasn't their scene. And so they went back. I forget where he said exactly in California they were based out of. But anyway, they grew from their position, not on the Sunset Strip. I didn't realize there was a lot of bands on the East Coast that were big that they didn't hang around the Sunset Strip.
Right. Oh, absolutely. Well, like I said, I moved to California and, come back home, and all of a sudden our scene is taken off because of Bon Jovi, and he used to play at the Galaxy, this club. And then he helped out Tom with Cinderella. And all of a sudden Cinderella gets a record deal, Britney Fox, and then I'm like, oh my God, it can be done from Philadelphia. Because prior to that, Philly was known for the Hooters, who I love. Hall & Oates, like who's that, DJ Jazzy Jeff, or the Fresh, like stuff like that. We weren't known for our type of music, but with Bon Jovi and Cinderella breaking down the doors, I was just like, holy cow. And it's so funny, I just read my buddy John Corabi's book, who I love, John, who's now back with the Dead Daisies. And he says in there, he moved out to California with his band Angora, with Jimmy and Frank and Robert, and they moved out there, and everybody's getting signed back at home. It's like,
you move out there taking a chance. But I think the crazy thing about it, the Sunset Strip has always intrigued me, because I've said it on my podcast before. I would love to build a time machine and just go back and see it one time, walk the strip, see all these bands that, actually playing before they were ever signed. But there was, in California, there was one band that looked like one band that looked like one band.
Yes, exactly. I look through the metal edges, and every band looks the same. I'm like, no wonder we died. But there's no personality. We all look like girls.
But I think that era of music, and that's what I try to do on my Instagram page and my podcast. I like talking about the Sunset Strip. I like talking about the 80s, what it was all about. And you know what? That was a great time to be alive.
Yeah.
That was a great time to grow up. In 1980, 85, 86, I heard Night Songs by Cinderella, and I left Duran Duran and I went to Cinderella and what I listen to now. So, you hear a song that makes you think, I remember the first time I ever heard that song, and I got hooked. So,
oh my God, I remember when that album came out, we were so proud of them. We were just like, we used to go every Saturday night. The midnight slot was the spot you wanted to have. You didn't want to be the opener, you didn't want to be the closer, you wanted that middle slot. So Cinderella headlined it every Saturday night, Friday or Saturday night, and how lucky are we that we got to see that every day, every week.
Exactly. You saw them, and it was, but you guys were friends. You hung out together.
It was just awesome. Which now I'm so jealous of reading all the accounts of people in California who got to see Van Halen like that every weekend. They got to see Van Halen. Can you imagine that?
Exactly. But that was West Coast, East Coast. Being there at the right time and place. Well, I have one more question for you. It's a kind of a thinker, just a funny one. If you could start a conversation with your younger self, what advice would you give them? Your younger self.
I don't know, because I pretty much have always followed my heart and my dreams. So I can't say follow your dreams, because I did that. I would say, don't be such a rebel. I was all about being a rebel, trying to be I grew up in Cherry Hill, New Jersey, I grew up in Woodcrest, which is 99% Jewish. I was the only Asian guy. I think my graduating class had 2 Asians, and I just tried to do everything I could to stand out, and I was like, I was bad. I was the rebel. I got expelled from high school. Like, holy cow! My kids ever got expelled from high school? And it's funny because I'm just now so close with. Well, I was always close. They always said I was their honorary Jew, and I'm just super close with all of them. And I never felt any different, but I did do stuff to try to stand out. And I knew that if music was. I guess if I had to do it again, I probably would have. I don't even want to say this. I probably wouldn't have gone to high school. I would have just started my career. I knew in 7th or 8th grade. I always tell the story. And Phil will always tell the story. I was in 7th grade. Phil Swift from Flex Seal fame was in 8th grade, and his band played Purple Haze at the 8th grade dance or something. And I was just like, that's what I want to do. Holy cow, that was so cool. So Phil now tells everybody, he inspired me, which he did, And I would have, because I spent my whole high school trying to not go to high school, cutting classes, whatever, just so I could do everything in my power to get suspended so I could stay at home and play my guitar, because back then suspensions were at home. They're it's like, I always tell this, I just told the story, we had a little gathering. The way they would send you, let you know you had to meet with the principals, you'd get this pink slip in homeroom. And I'd check in the homeroom, and they'd be like, hand me the pink slip, you have to go report to the principal. And I'd be like, whoosh, just throw it on the ground. And I'm like, if he wants to talk to me, he can come to me.
He can come see me, yeah.
Yeah, so what? Well, I'm such a jerk. So this guy, finally, Mr. Miles, I'll never forget that, comes down and sees me. He's like, why haven't you been coming up to see me? We've been calling, you sending your pink slips. I'm like, you know what? You are such a dick. I felt like Spicoli. You are a dick. And he's like, that just got you one day. And I'm like, well, dick. I got a week. So I got to stay home for a week and play my guitar.
There you go. It's funny you talk about Fast Times, because there was someone on TV the other night that looked. We were watching Criminal Minds or something, me and my wife, and one of the guys on it looks just like Jeff Spicoli. And I just looked over at my wife. I was like, "You dick!" And she knew exactly what I was saying. She started laughing, and just good stuff.
That's right. That is the greatest. Orders the pizza in class. He was awesome. So,
well, sir, I know you're a busy man, and let me say, I can say you have been one of my heroes. For a long time, and it was a thrill to. You were walking up the steps at M3, and I told my wife, I was like, "There's Reggie Wu." I said, "Let me see if I can get him before he walks off." And you were so kind to. You gave me a guitar pick. You were so kind to sit and take my picture, and I get back to my seat, and I'm grinning like a
oh my God!
And my wife's like, "You tracked him down, did you?" I was like, "Well, actually, I didn't track him down. I didn't stalk him. I called his name, and he actually stopped and talked to me. And I met Mark too, and got my picture taken with Mark." So, but thank you for being a positive. All you guys are positive role models to me, for the simple fact that listening to your music was just being a teenager and having fun. And I first heard Heaven's Edge on a college radio station in Raleigh, North Carolina, at NC State University. On Saturday afternoon from like 12 to 3, they would play hair metal. That's the first time I ever heard Heaven's Edge.
Wow, okay.
First time I ever heard Leatherwolf.
Great guys.
All kinds of bands. So I would hear these guys or see them in the magazine, and I would ride to the local record store. And of course, then you had to buy a cassette tape.
Yes.
So yes. I bought the cassette, but anyway, thank you for you're a good fella, and I appreciate you taking the time to talk to me.
Oh my God, thank you. Thank you for everything, for the support and having me on today, and hopefully we get to meet at M3 again.
Yeah, hopefully you guys come around again soon, and because we try to go every year. It's fun. I get to see bands that I've never seen before. It might be one original member of the band, but I still got to see them. You know what I'm saying?
Right, absolutely. That's the one thing we're really proud of. When we did come back in 2013, it was all 5 guys. 5 original members. Very sadly, we lost Gigi, and but Jaron, at that point, I thought, we're done. It's just not meant to be. And Jaron just came in, and he was just like the perfect person. Love him. And I mean, he could be my son. My wife always calls him our son. Right. He's younger than our daughter, I think.
Wow. Yeah, so I interviewed him, and he's not a guy of many words. He's just he'll answer what you ask him, and he's enjoying. He's enjoying being on with Lynch Mob on their farewell thing, and hopefully they'll make more music. And he's looking forward to starting up with Heaven's Edge, getting a new record out. So it's nice to have a young guy in there, because the younger guys bring younger followers, younger listeners.
And he's good looking, and all my students love him.
Yeah, he's a right handsome fella.
So I think we're gonna pull the Menudo, where you hit a certain age, you're out, we get a good looking young guy.
There you get another young guy in there. Sir, I know you got things to do, and I do appreciate you so much. I've got a few podcasts that have to be put together, so I will email you or Instagram you and let you know when it's going to be.
Yes, I will start to follow. I don't do a lot of Instagram, but I feel like I need to get on it a little bit. So I'll start to follow you.
Well, I do appreciate it. And you have a great day, sir. And God bless you, and good luck and everything.
God bless you.
Do. Thank you so much.
Thank you, buddy. Have a great one.
Bye-bye, sir.
See ya. Bye.
All right. I got to say, it was pretty cool talking to Reggie Wu. I've listened to Heaven's Edge since high school. Like I told you, when I first heard them on WKNAC in Raleigh, North Carolina. The band is great. Every song on the album is great. They have another album before their debut. It's called Some Other Place, Some Other Time. That's got a few of the songs off the first album, but kind of a lot of
a lot of B-sides, I guess you would say. And plus they came out with a new album last year that sounds just like it could have been recorded in, like I said, 1987, 88, 89, around there. It's great. Reggie Wu is a great guitarist and just a funny guy. It's nice to talk to him, and I can't believe I actually did a podcast with Reggie Wu, so I'm a really happy man right now. I want to play a little bit of Heaven's Edge before we end the show. This is the intro. Listen closely to the intro because they announce pretty much every song on the album in the intro. It's pretty clever what they did. And the song that plays afterwards is Play Dirty. So here you go. Here's some Heaven's Edge for you. I hope you enjoyed the podcast today, and I hope you enjoyed Reggie Wu and the music. It's fun doing this podcast. I have so many people that have said they would do the podcast. I'm really surprised. I know it's a fledgling project, and you guys might get bored listening to it. I get it. I understand. I'm just trying to I want to make a good podcast for people to listen to that takes you back, to a better place, a better time. That's what it's all about. This music is fun. This music has always been fun. The 80s, I've said it many times, the 80s was the best era to grow up in. The music, not just hair metal, but the pop music, the rap music that was out at the time. Each music genre had its own categories in the 80s. That's what made it so much fun. Well, guys, thank you so much for listening. Like I say, I hope you enjoyed it. Please go on the platforms and rate me if you can. Give me a comment. Give me a thumbs up, thumbs down, whatever you feel the comment needs to be at the time. I really do appreciate each and every one of you. Like I say, this is fun. It's nice to know people listen to it. Guys, take care. Have a happy 4th of July, and remember what the 4th of July is all about. The independence of this country, and it's a good place to live. It's the United States of America, and we all should be proud to live here. Thank you so much. God bless you all, and take care.